And I'm back again, guys. Here to do another Red Bearded preview for Week 9 of the Premier League. Overall Premier League. So, first up, obviously we have Chelsea versus Manchester United. I did do a longer preview of that game in a video that I just put out. So if you want a big preview of that game, I did put that out there. And I will always be doing, like I said in that video, I will always be doing a separate Manchester United preview as well as an overall Premier League preview. I feel like just for me as a Manchester United fan, it'll be easier to get my fandom out of the way first, and it'll allow me to kind of get into more of these games because I do get up and I do watch every single game that's available on television here in the United States. So, obviously for me, I did have Chelsea winning against Manchester United 2-1. It hurts me to say that, but at the same time, I need to be honest. And right now, based on Manchester United's overall performance throughout the year and Chelsea's overall performance throughout the year, Chelsea should be beating us with absolutely no problem whatsoever. So, the next game up in terms of the list, so I pulled my list off of the Premier League's website. So next up on that list is Bournemouth versus Southampton. For me, I've got Bournemouth winning this game at 3-2. We talk a lot about I talk a lot on Twitter about how Eddie Howe is a manager that, guess what? If you're going to score 2 goals, I'm going to score 3. If you're going to score 3, I'm going to score 4. So I'm going to have Bournemouth winning this game 3-2 against Southampton. And I think that's going to be a very interesting game to watch. Probably very fast-paced, very, very attacking. And I think it's from both sides. And I think you should have a fun time watching that match. It's always fun to watch teams that aren't necessarily inside of the top 6 go at each other because I feel like the game really opens up a lot. So next up, we have 2 teams that are at the bottom side of the table in Cardiff and Fulham. So I did a little bit of research into this game because I am really intrigued by Ryan Sessegnon. He's a very very good prospect in the making right now. And so I don't typically like to try and make predictions on like goal scorers or anything like that, but I think that Ryan Sessegnon is going to get his first ever Premier League goal in this game against Cardiff. I have Fulham winning 2-1. But some interesting facts for you guys. So I almost went with a 1-1 draw, but both of these teams combined have given up 38 goals, with Fulham giving up 21 and Cardiff giving up 17. But Cardiff have only scored 4 goals this year in total, and to Fulham's 9. So, it's just my opinion, but I think that Fulham is going to come out in this game, and I think that they're going to pick up the win. Ryan Sessegnon, again, I think Ryan Sessegnon will get his first ever Premier League goal in this game. So if you're once again, I like to say this, I said this in my NFL preview. So if you guys are looking for a bet, throw that down as a bet. And see if it winds up being right, cool. But if not, you can blame me. I'll apologize later. But anyway, so next up, we have Manchester City versus Burnley. Would you really expect Manchester City to lose this game? Let's be honest. I think Manchester City go out and win 3-0. They're gonna do to Burnley what we should have done to Burnley, but ultimately it's okay. You know what? But Manchester City, I do have them winning 3-0. So we'll see how that game winds out because I feel like with both Manchester City and with Liverpool, that against these lower side teams, that they either go out and completely batter them, or the team will completely park the bus, and it makes so it's almost impossible for them to get through their defense. And, it makes it so it's either a 0-0 or a 1-0 win for them on a late winner. So, should be interesting to see how that game winds out, but I'm going to ultimately go with a 3-0 for Manchester City. Next up, I have Newcastle against Brighton and Hove Albion. All right, so for me, I'm going to predict that Newcastle is going to get their first win of the season in this game. I've got Newcastle winning 2-1 to Brighton and Hove Albion. The way that Newcastle looked in their game against Manchester United, I think that they right now are trending upward. I don't think that Newcastle will get relegated inside of this year. I think that they will get back onto form, and I think that ultimately they will wind up somewhere between like the 10th and the 14th spot in the Premier League. But 2-1 for Newcastle, and we'll see how that game turns out. Again, like I said, just these games where it's the lower teams can sometimes be really interesting because the game really opens up. So I'll be interested to see how this game plays out, and I am going to be saying again, Newcastle win this game against Brighton and Hove Albion 2-1. Next up, I have West Ham versus Tottenham Hotspurs. I have Tottenham Hotspurs winning this game 3-1. I do think West Ham will ultimately get a goal inside of this game, but I think Spurs are just going to outclass them, and I think that Spurs ultimately will get goals from basically all over the place. I don't know who. Like I said, I don't like to try and predict who's going to score because ultimately, it makes you. I think it can make you look bad if you're trying to predict scorers in the game. But, I would predict that if there is going to be one specific goal scorer, I think Harry Kane will get a goal in this game. And that's another one that if you want to put down a bet and blame me later, go ahead. But anyways, guys, so we're moving on. Next up, we have Wolves versus Watford. This was a really tough one for me to predict because ultimately Wolves and Watford have both been playing very, very well this year. But for me, I'm going to predict that Wolves are going to beat Watford in this game. And I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Wolves. Once again, this is another game that I think that the game's really going to open up. These are two middle table sides. And I think Wolves really are starting to come into their own as a team inside of the Premier League. And I think that this game will be, in my opinion, the game to watch of the week, other than Manchester United versus Chelsea, because that's two top six sides going against each other. But in terms of other games, if you're wanting to watch one specific game, if you're able to, I would highly recommend watching Wolves versus Watford. I think that's going to be a very, very entertaining game overall. Next up, I have Huddersfield versus Liverpool. I've got Liverpool winning that game 2-0. I think Huddersfield is really going to park the bus in this game. And ultimately, I think that Liverpool are going to get a goal or two in this game. I did predict 2-0, but I think that they will find it hard to break down that Huddersfield side. But they will ultimately come through with the victory at the end of the day in this game. Once again, I'm a Manchester United fan, so obviously, it's hard for me to say that. But I think that Liverpool right now are in such hot form that it's going to be hard for them to lose a game right now until they come up against some better sides in the Premier League, and we'll see what goes on from there. But anyways, moving on to our next game. Our next game is Everton versus Crystal Palace, and I'm going to go with a 1-1 in that game. Both teams this year have Crystal Palace started off the year hot. And Everton's just kind of been doing what Everton does. They kind of hang around, and they manage to always get into the upper half of the table. But for me, I think that this game has a 1-1 written on it. Two teams that are going to lock each other up, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see who will be the ultimate playmakers of this game. Between Gylfi Sigurdsson and... oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank on the name from Crystal Palace? I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, my videos are always going to be authentic. So, Crystal Palace, William Zaha. There we go. I'm sorry, guys. So, William Zaha, I think both of those guys are going to be serious threats for both their teams, which is, I know it's pretty much an obvious statement, but I think it'll be interesting to see how that'll play out. But ultimately, I think a 1-1 is a sound bet inside of this game because I think both sides are going to ultimately, they're going to go at each other a little bit, but I think that Everton, with their defensive track record, will probably sit back. I think Jordan Pickford will probably make some really good saves in this game, but I think Crystal Palace and them 1-1. And then last but not least, I have Arsenal versus Leicester City, and that's on a Monday night for you guys in the UK. But for me here in the States, that game happens about noon here. So should be a fun game. This I've got to go with a 2-2 between Arsenal and Leicester City. I think that Leicester always play up to their competition. Inside of the top six, you really see that inside of all their games. So I think this game ultimately between Arsenal and Leicester is going to be a fun game to watch. I mean, so it's a good game to have on a Monday night. But I think that this game will be a good battle to the end, and I'm going to be have a really good time watching this match. And I'll probably do my Premier League review shortly after this game and try and get it up for you guys as quick as possible, because I think that'll be a good match to react to as well. So, after that, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on the Premier League. Let's see, and tell me what your guys' score predictions are for all these games this week, because we do have some decent games coming in this week. I know that it's a lot of we've got some upper sides that are playing lower sides, and then you've got lower sides playing lower sides, but ultimately you've got 2 or 3 really good games inside of this week 9. So, like I said, guys, drop your thoughts in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter or on Facebook at RedBeardedRed. You can find me there. And I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on these games, your thoughts on my predictions, and if there's anything more you would like me to add to my Premier League predictions. If you guys want me to actually predict goal scorers, I will do that, because I want to try and make this so I want this channel to be very fan interactive. And so if we can all get together and talk about these games, I would love that. So also, next week, I'm going to try and have my very first guest on here. I know it's very early days, but I was talking with my brother, who is a Liverpool fan, and I'm going to see if he maybe wants to come on for our preview and review for next week of the Premier League. But guys, there's always going to be I'm going to try and get guests on here relatively regularly. I think that's going to also add to the fan experience, and I think us being able to bounce back and forth off each other is really, really fun. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed. God bless you guys. Hope you guys have a great time watching all these matches this weekend. I know that you guys in the UK don't get the midday games, which I feel really bad for, because I do get every single game here in the United States. I don't know if many of you know that about the United States, but I can, with NBC Gold, I can actually choose exactly which match I want to watch at all times. So ultimately, guys, I feel bad for you that you guys are in the UK. You guys should be able to have every one of these matches available to you. I don't understand that. But, yeah, guys, like I said, God bless. I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend. Tomorrow is my birthday, so I'm excited to celebrate 29, going into 30. That's a scary thought. But, yeah, guys, have fun. Have fun watching the matches, and I hope you have a great weekend.